Hello everyone, in this section I'll introduce the pressurized dissolved air flotation. According to the means for bubbles production, flotation is generally divided into electric flotation, dispersed air flotation, and dissolved air flotation DAF, and DAF can be classified as vacuum and pressurized types according to the pressure on bubbles in the flotation tank. Pressurized DAF is the most common flotation process, so we focus on it. First, let's see the pressurized DAF system. Air is dissolved in water under a certain pressure, and once the pressure is reduced to atmospheric level, the oversaturated gas would release in fine bubbles. Main equipment of pressurized DAF includes air release equipment, pressurized dissolved air system, and flotation tank. Typical pressurized DAF process is shown in this figure. Some treated water goes back to the pressurized dissolved air drum by pressured pump. The air compressor pumps air into the drum as well to make air dissolved sufficiently. Water with pressurized dissolved air enters the flotation tank through diffuser and mixed with the flow. Supersaturated dissolved air is released and many microbubbles are formed, causing flotation. Scum accumulated on the surface of water is scraped into scum trough and discharged. Treated water is discharged from the lower part of the tank. Pressurized DAF can obtain a high solubility of air in water. It can supply sufficient fine bubbles with diameter ranging from 20 to 100 micrometer and uniform distribution. Besides, equipment and process are simple, so it's the most widely applied flotation process in the field of water and wastewater treatment. Now we are going to introduce a fundamental process of pressurized DAF. There are three basic process flows. The first one is full flow flotation. In this process, raw water all flows into pressured air drum and then enters the flotation tank through pressure release device. Microbubbles are formed to cause flotation. Because all raw water needs pressurization, power consumption is high, but without backflows, the volume of such flotation tank is small. The second one is split flow flotation, in which only part of the raw water enters the air drum. The rest enters the flotation tank directly. Compared with the full flow flotation, it's power saving. Because only part of the raw water enters the air drum, the flow through pressure pump and the volume of air drum are small. Part of the equipment cost can be saved. But because of that reason as well, the dissolved gas is less. The pressure in air drum must be enlarged if we need more air. Hence, the requirements for equipment are high. The third one is recycle flotation. The process was introduced before. This process is suitable for raw water with high suspended solid. The blockage caused by raw water entering the air drum is prevented, but the flotation design has to concern the effect of recycled water. The volume of the flotation tank is larger than the other two. Now, the recycle process is the most widely used process in pressurized DAF. Next, I'll introduce the main equipment of pressurized DAF. First, the pressurized air dissolved system, including air supply equipment, pressure pump, air drum, and other ancillary equipment. There are several equipment that can make air dissolved into water. The most widely used is air compressor. As the figure shows, air is dissolved into water through air compressor. Then comes to the pressure pump. Raw water enters the air drum through pressured pump and mixed with air. As the air is dissolved, water with dissolved air flows to the flotation tank. The pressure of the pump determines the solubility of air in water. The dissolution of air into water follows Henry's law. We can calculate it by this equation. The volume of air dissolved in water V is proportional to the absolute pressure on the air. But the dissolution takes time to get saturated and is related to the flow of water in the air drum. This figure shows the correlation among the amount of dissolved air, air pressure, and time. The retention time of air in air drum is often 2 to 4 minutes. Dissolved air in water is about 50 to 60% of the saturation content. The main function of the air drum is to make water contact with air completely and promote the dissolution. The form of the air drum is diverse. Direct flow is the most simple one. To enhance the contact of water and air, several kinds of air drum are developed, like plate, tube, ejection, overturning, packing styles. The main purpose of these structures is to update the interface between liquid and gas continuously and improve the dissolution of air in water. Second, the air release device. The main purpose of air release device is to release air in fine bubbles. This is a release device of dissolved air in which shrinkage, diffusion, and collision of the pressurized air dissolved water flow consumes power. Then, the pressure of the water is reduced and uniform and fine bubbles are released. The third one is a flotation tank. Aggregates are separated from water in it. Similar with sedimentation tank, the flotation tank can be divided into rectangular and upflow types. The process of rectangular flotation tank is shown in this figure. It is the most widely used one. After coagulation, raw water enters the flotation tank mixed with air dissolved water and solid liquid separation happens. Here we address that scum is discharged from the top of the tank and treated water discharged from the lower part of it, which is different from the sedimentation tank. This is the upflow flotation tank. After coagulation, the raw water enters in the middle and mixed with air dissolved water. Then it flows into solid liquid separation zone. Scum discharged on the top and treated water discharged from the lower part. Moreover, for raw water with impurities of large densities, a combined treatment of flotation and sedimentation could be applied. For example, this is a flotation tank combined with a lamella sedimentation tank. After coagulation, the raw water flows through the lamella sedimentation area. Impurities of large densities are removed. Then it flows into the flotation tank on the top and mixed with air dissolved water to further remove the fine impurities through flotation. Whether the particle is easy to settle or not, it can be removed efficiently by the combination of the two processes. Now I'll show you some photos of air flotation tanks. This is a flotation tank. This is a pressured air drums and a small-scaled air flotation tank. Scum on the surface of water is collected by a scraper. Now we are going to introduce the calculation of pressurized DAF. An important problem we have to solve is how much air is needed to remove a certain amount of suspended solid. It refers to a fundamental parameter in flotation process, the gas-solid ratio. It is a ratio of released air amount to total suspended solid in the raw water. It can be presented by volume ratio or mass ratio. Mass ratio is more common. When mass ratio is employed, the total air amount could be calculated by this equation. Here we should notice that P is the absolute pressure of dissolved air and F is the air dissolution efficiency. It is related to the form of the pressured air tank and other conditions. Fp-1 represents the amount of air released from water when the pressure decreased from P to atmosphere pressure. Total suspended solid S brought in by raw water could be calculated by this equation. So we can present gas-solid ratio as this equation. Gas-solid ratio is an important parameter affecting flotation performance. It affects the effluent quality and sludge concentration. Its value can be acquired through experiment. These are the results of air flotation experiments under different gas-solid ratio. Figure on the left represents the suspended solid in effluent after air flotation. On the right is the change of solid concentration with gas-solid ratio. As we see, gas-solid ratio affects effluent quality and the scum concentration. Higher gas-solid ratio would generate lower suspended solids in effluent and a higher concentration of scum. That's all about the air flotation process. Thank you.